They have been an incredibly talented team the whole time. Sometimes it takes 100 games to figure out who you are, and that's an insane thing to think about. But it's reality. Like Ceddanne Rafaela, who's been brilliant, one of the best players in baseball. We didn't know what position he was for sure, in May. Was he going to be an infielder? Was he going to be a center fielder? Now he's one of the best center fielders in baseball, and you could make an argument that he belongs here in Atlanta right now.
Amen.
Roman Anthony, takes a little while to figure out big league pitching. When I was talking with Cal Raleigh's dad, Cal Raleigh's dad was saying, we used to talk about this in our house. In baseball, you have low A, you have high A, Double A, Triple A. Major League Baseball is 8A. That's how big the leap is from AAA up to the big league level. So it takes guys some time to figure it out. And Roman Anthony seems to finally be figuring it out. And they've gotten healthier at this point. Alex Bregman coming back is going to make it even better.
Huge.
And now we're going toward the July 31st trade deadline, and all eyes are going to be on the Red Sox. Aroldis Chapman's going nowhere. Alex Bregman's going nowhere. They're going to add, and if they get another starting pitcher who can be at the top of that rotation with Garrett Crochet, Brian Bayo pitching so well, Lucas Giolito, the Boston Red Sox are legitimate World Series contenders.
Good morning. Welcome into Boston has entered the chat. It's Tuesday, July 15th, live inside the Salem 5 studios. You hear from him right there. That's Jeff Passan going all in on the Red Sox buyers, World Series contenders, if they buy at the deadline. Welcome into the show, George Balekji, Kasey Hudson. We'll get into Jeff Passan and the Red Sox. We'll talk some Boston Bruins and James Hagens and what this upcoming season could be for the 19-year-old center. And then later on in the show, we'll talk some Summer League with the Celtics. All the Boston teams in a very pivotal point in their roster construction, Kasey. We'll get into all that. But first things first, how are we doing this morning?
We're good. It's funny that you mentioned that because I swear every time I talk about Boston teams, I'm like retool, revamp, retool, revamp.
That's what it is.
Boston
it used to be championships.
Right.
Now it's everyone rebuilding and retooling.
Exactly. Oh, no. Rebuild is not allowed. It's retooling.
Roll my eyes at that.
Exactly. But we're good. It's good to figure out where all of these teams can go. But let's start with the Red Sox.
Yeah, big what you hear from Jeff Passan. Obviously someone that's as plugged in among Major League Baseball as there is. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't just put out that Chapman and Bregman aren't going anywhere. If that is not something that is, has well-resourced and well-informed.
Right.
He wouldn't make that statement without really knowing what's going on. And what's big for the Red Sox, 8 games above 500. They just had a 10-game win streak. Mm-hmm. They're in that second wild card spot, and they're just 3 games out from the lead in the AL East. All that adds up into a team that's in the driver's seat to get into the postseason. But he brings up the starting pitching they need to add. This is still a team that needs another starter in the top 3 of the rotation, needs another relief arm, whether in the middle or, a setup guy in the 7th, 8th. They need another bat. So he talks about adding, but he brings up starting pitching. That should be the priority for the Red Sox. There is more that they can add as well. When you hear that, what goes through your mind of a player they could be adding coming up on the trade deadline, July 31st?
Yeah, kind of jumping into the deep end here, something that I would love to see. Talk about a dream come true for my personal buying, not particularly selling too much. I like the idea of a Brian Wu, because then you heard some other rumors circulating to the fact that you don't want a rental. You don't want somebody that you're just going to throw into the mix for a year, 1 year, 2 years. You want somebody who's going to spend some substantial time here. And I look at the fact that he's young, he's had a great pop-off, but more importantly, you've talked about the fact that there needs to be some versatility. This bullpen has been referred to as thin since the top of the season. We know injuries played a huge role in that, but when you look at Brian Wu and all of the excitement around where his career can go, something that's kind of been noted on his resume is a deceptive fastball. And I think back to Unobstructed Views when Pap's like, sometimes this pitching gets so predictable. Yeah. Now, especially once you get outside of the ace that is Crochet. So just to think, if you can add somebody into the mix that has a deceptibility to their game, that can have that fastball, it's just annoying to go up against. I like the upside of a young guy, can be around for quite some time, can be a great teammate to a Crochet, our ace, and see what the future would hold with that, So, but you have to probably move some pieces to get a guy like that.
Definitely need a move for Brian Wu. I mean, that's the Mariners that are just behind the Red Sox in the wild card standing. So they want to look to buy. If they give up a Wu, they need offense. Yeah. So that'd be adding a bat. To me, it's Jarren Duran, Masataka Yoshida. The conversation would start with one of those 2 guys and probably prospects. But if they add a Brian Wu, that is someone that you say the team control. Him, Brian Bayo, and Garrett Crochet will be the top 3 of the rotation for quite some time. I go in that same path, someone that's young, someone that's dominant. I go Joe Ryan with the Minnesota Twins. His name was floated to start, trade rumors, has kind of dissipated since then. But a 2.7 ERA, 29 years old, 2 years of arbitration after this season, so there is still that team control, and he's just been really good.
Yeah.
Almost a 29% K rate. He's been one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball. He immediately drops in as a number 2 because that's what Passan said there too. They have to be a really good starting pitcher. It's not a starting pitcher, it's someone that's really good. If it's not him and you just want to build depth throughout this rotation, maybe give up less, then I could see a Mitch Keller with Pittsburgh. 29 years old, will go 6 innings, has around a 3.5 ERA, but a fastball sweeper, his main 2 pitchers. You know that speaks to Andrew Bailey, the pitching coach for the Red Sox. That's not a top-end starter, but he could be that 3-4. And end of the day, if you have Crochet, Giolito, Bayo, and then a Mitch Keller, and you figure out at 5, maybe it's a Tanner Houck, maybe it's someone else stepping up, and it goes into that role, that is still depth in a rotation that's consistently good instead of being top-heavy with your top 3. And Walker Buehler's out there, too. If he can get back his legs back under him, continue to, not walk batters.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that's kind of flattering with the Keller conversation is more so the fact that I think negotiations wouldn't be too steep. You're kind of keeping it within the family between Pittsburgh and Boston for 1, and for 2, you can kind of do more of a sellable when it comes to prospects versus then going to any of your top-heavy names. Because I would say that the streak that the Red Sox have hit, one of the other rumor mills that have been going around is that it takes those superstar names out of the trade rumor mill and kind of lets you know, and then like Jeff said, you're looking more to buy than to sell anything at this moment. So another name that's circulating around, Zach Gallen, and I told you beforehand, while there's pitchers that have notoriety behind their name, my biggest concern is that you're talking about a Red Sox bullpen that has just gone through a number of injuries or inconsistency or inabilities, and you want to be able to bring somebody in that you can just trust off the jump, especially with how crucial and pivotal it's going to be for this team coming back from the All-Star break and the schedule ahead.
And that's an Arizona team I don't think will be buyers. They'll be sellers. So again, that'd be prospects you give up. You keep your core together, still get a starting pitcher. Someone that could drop into that number 4. You want to see him get back to his form a few years ago, and maybe he gets in the building, and it's a little bit of a reclamation project, could take some time, but that's someone when it comes to meaningful baseball late August into September, he'll be with the Major League club right away, but that's when he can find his footing and help them make that push. I think when you talk reclamation projects, we could see a Sandy Alcantara, who's been terrible this year, but coming off Tommy John. Shane Bieber, who is with the Guardians, hasn't pitched that this year, coming off Tommy John. But those are guys that, if they had a solid 1 through 4, and then they added someone, that could be it. And Shane Bieber, we may not see be on a Major League mound until August. The Red Sox, the second half of their schedule, how difficult it is the toughest in all Major League Baseball. They can't afford to sit around and wait for an Alcantara or a Shane Bieber. Emmanuel Clase, that's the last starting pitcher I'd bring up. That's someone with a sub-3 ERA, really high whiff percentage, really good with barreled balls as well. Just a dominant pitcher. And again, with the Cleveland Guardians, that could be selling at the deadline. If we get away from starting pitchers, one thing that has to be brought up is how Jarren Duran is still floated as the Padres and the Phillies want him badly.
Right.
And the Padres, if he goes to San Diego, that's Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Jarren Duran in the same outfield. You could get a high-leverage relief pitcher like an Adrian Morejon in return. 1.8 ERA, setup guy in the 7th, can be a setup guy in the 8th, too. That helps a Garrett Whitlock. That helps an Aroldis Chapman. Can give those guys a night off. Could be a high-leverage reliever. That's another path I could see. If Jarren Duran is traded by the Red Sox, they could get a relief pitcher that's needed in return like that, someone that's really dominant and really good.
Do you think that changes the dynamic of what this team is doing so well right now?
It's hard to say no because of how you see the cohesion and the chemistry in that clubhouse. And Jarren Duran, Alex Cora loves him. He's a 5-tool player. His defensive play has been up and down, but his motor and his energy is always there. And that's where Craig Breslow has to hit this trade deadline perfect. Do you give up players that are contributing now, major league guys, and leaders in the clubhouse, like a Jarren Duran, to get that relief pitcher? Or do you go a different avenue where it's someone that maybe like a Ryan Helsley from St. Louis, that's a Cardinals team that could be in a retool where that'd be prospects you give up and you still get a really good arm in return? That's where Craig Breslow, that's where Alex Cora have to step up. They know more than us, and they know. And Cora brought it up when they traded away Christian Vasquez. He saw how that affected the clubhouse. So he knows if you trade away the wrong guy, how that could affect the clubhouse, especially with young players like Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony being such key contributors for this team.
Yeah, and like you said, you don't want to mess with the cohesion right now whatsoever. And then, of course, when it comes to the pitching conversation, you got Dobbins that goes down with the ACL tear. You got Houck, who's just been dealing with his own stuff. So, you don't particularly need to go so splashy if there's still faith in those two guys kind of coming up and knowing and doing and establishing their role yet again. I mean, there was pretty impressive parts of Dobbins' games leading up to the ACL tear, unfortunately. So you don't have to go too splashy if there is faith there. But something else that I want to get your opinion on is a potential path or reality to like some of the free agents that are being discussed. You got Blake Snell, it's a big name that's being discussed in the free agency market coming up here. Like, is there a way to kind of not trade away a bunch of assets, make it make sense financially, and bring in a name without rumor milling a Duran?
So you're saying trade for Blake Snell now instead of waiting for the free agency? There's no way the Dodgers give him up everything they put into him and all that deferred money that a guy like that has. And while they're waiting for rotation to get healthy, I just can't see the Dodgers being a team that would part with the big signings they have. And they know their window continues to be Shohei at his peak, while a guy like a Freddie Freeman is still healthy and Mookie Betts is still playing like phenomenal elite baseball. I can't see the Dodgers parting with that. It has to be teams that could be sellers, and it would be the Pirates, could be the Guardians, could be the Twins, the Mariners that maybe part ways because they know they need offense. As good as Brian Wu is, they could part with pitching to add some offense. And it's also a two-avenue part where what are teams that are willing to give up? Like Ryan O'Hearn, I know the Orioles are in the division.
Yeah.
That'd be a rental bat, but that could be 20, 25 home runs the Red Sox need. Or Taylor Ward, outfielder for the Angels. Like, they're eventually going to sell it. It's the Anaheim Angels. They always do. They hang around. They eventually sell, and it doesn't make any sense with what they do at all. That's a righty bat, 25 to 30 home runs. I wish he played first base, but he doesn't. But that's a guy that plays primarily at left field. And he can work out as a DH, and when Roman Anthony needs a night off, then Taylor Ward can go into left field at Fenway Park, and Roman Anthony can be the designated hitter. But that is someone that has a lot of power, or he could just slide into the DH role and just hit. That's someone that could buy in and make that happen. And then the outfield still slots out the way it does. They need a power bat. They would love a righty bat, and that's why I go with the Taylor Ward. There also was, we heard from Jeff Passan to open up the show. Here's Jim Bowden. He's informed when it comes to Major League Baseball as well. Here he was on CBS when talking about what avenue Craig Breslow could pick as well.
Boston's going to be an interesting team. They're playing a lot better. They have a chance of staying in the wild card race. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on Craig Breslow when he gets to the trade deadline on which direction he's going to go to. If he sells, he's going to have, as much to sell as any of the teams that sell. So he could really maximize the return. So it's going to be fascinating to see what he does at the deadline.
That's significant because if he sells, now Jeff Passan says Aroldis Chapman's not going anywhere. Alex Bregman's not going anywhere. Those are two guys that Chapman's on a one-year deal. He'd be a rental for a contender.
Right.
Alex Bregman has his opt-outs. He's in a very player-friendly deal. If they don't think they could get an extension done with him, that's someone that could be dealt. Then there's Jarren Duran. Then there's Masataka Yoshida. And those names come into play. This is it was a great offseason for Breslow. He added Crochet. He added Bregman. He added Chapman. Like, this team wouldn't be where they are without Breslow making those maneuvers in the offseason. Now when it comes up to the trade deadline, it's finishing the job. It started in the offseason. It comes to the deadline. He bought in the offseason. They shelled out money. They gave extensions. They had contracts signed. Now it comes to finishing the job in this trade deadline. But the pressure's on him because there's going to be a lot of interesting offers out there if you want to part with very significant pieces.
Yeah, I'd ask this question before we move on. Is that if the focus is just buying and say that they just try to do more supplementation, no big splashy moves, is this a lineup thus far that feels like it can continue on its winning path? Not a win out because it's not realistic, the competition heats up, but continue on a winning path to compete.
It's tough without, like, Alex Bregman's your best bat. You just need more power in Major League Baseball. You need those hitters that can make a difference, and that's why they have to go out and add a guy like that on top of the starting pitching. And the pitching's been good. Can Lucas Giolito sustain it? Can Brian Bayo sustain it? Can Garrett Crochet do the second half of his season? Because we have not seen that from him.
Right.
When he was with the White Sox, they had him on the pitch count. They never let him go more than 4 innings pitched. He's phenomenal the first half of the season. Leads Major League Baseball in innings pitched, is high up there in strikeouts as well, leads him there, has a 2.2 ERA. Okay, can he do that the second half of the season and into the playoffs? We haven't seen it from him. That's why they have to add. Where it's good, a guy to this point, a guy 8 games above 500, I just think there needs to be more depth everywhere. And even look in bullpen. Greg Weisser looks like he's running out of gas. How much more do you get from Justin Wilson? What will Tanner Houck be when he returns? Can he be a relief pitcher and a setup guy? I would rather have answers than, okay, we can rely on this and hope it pans out. And I think that's where the Red Sox are, too.
Yeah, so they're going to have to bring in a few key pieces to bump this up over the edge there.
They have to, and it's like the 10-game win streak's great. What they put together is great. It was the Nationals and the Rockies to start that off.
Yeah.
It was the Tampa Bay Rays, who are a good team, not great, and pulling a Taj Bradley, who sparked this whole, run for them, where he had 88 innings pitched and was absolutely dominant. They can't rely on luck from the other teams. They eventually have to go out and take the wins. They can't rely on it to fall. And it'll be Cubs, Phillies, Dodgers. I love bringing this up. Houston twice, Royals, Padres in the mix. Then you drop in the Twins and the Marlins as well. And when they wrap up the season, Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays, Detroit. Those are 4 out of their final 5 series. This is a team that will be fighting to the end for a playoff spot. We'll see how the Red Sox do. We'll see how they do leading up to the trade deadline. That's July 31st, but the talk is just heating up. To catch all the latest in your Boston sports headlines, all the MLB trade deadline talk, make sure to tune into Boston is End of the Chat every Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. on NESN, 9 to 10 a.m. on NESN Nation. Check out 310 to Left, hosted by TC Alex Spear, and all our talent across NESN as well, talking everything Red Sox. But Boston is End of the Chat every Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. on NESN, 9 to 10 a.m. on NESN Nation.
I want him to do a full season in college. I do. I think that, he's still so young, right? And the Bruins don't have to rush him for these reasons you're talking about, right? Like, what do we think this team is going to be? If everything works out, they're contending probably for second or third in their division, more likely a wild card team. And so it's not as if James Hagens is going to come in and put them over the top and be a Stanley Cup contender. And it's going to make them that much better in spring 2026. If we're wrong, Bruins, clip this, put it all over social media. Ty was wrong once again. But, because of that, this isn't Charlie McAvoy in 2017 where the Bruins just simply ran out of bodies and had to bring him up despite not really wanting to play him in the playoffs. You can be a little bit more patient here. And so I would like to see him get a cup of coffee with the Bruins by the end of the season. But I do want that full season, the NCAA tournament, the Frozen Four, perhaps, for given how good BC is projected to be. I do think there's value in that, right? And so I don't want to rush that. And I know a lot of Bruins fans are he's the shiniest new toy out of all the new toys that we've had in 15 years. But patience, going back to what we saw off the jump here, patience is a must with a player this important.
That's Ty Anderson of the Sports Hub, and that was him on the Hockey Hub. Talking James Hagens, Bruins #1 overall pick this past draft, taken 7th overall in the NHL draft. And talk about the expectations. 19 years old, he'll be next hockey season. Will be a center. The Bruins need it.
Right.
But he's talking about the line to draw between playing at Boston College, where he played as a freshman, will be a sophomore, or coming up and playing for the Bruins. This is a team that needs depth at the center position. They need playmaking. They need scoring. They need everything, Case, when it comes to their top 9. But what do you think of Ty Anderson pointing out there? And what do you think James Hagens should do? Boston College or the Boston Bruins when it comes to this upcoming season?
I agree with Ty. I think that he needs to go back to Boston College and just continue to refine everything that he's already doing so well. And he's got a great positioning to do that for the upcoming season. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but again, structure is going to change a little bit when it comes to collegiate hockey, and it's going to be that much more exciting. Gavin McKenna has now changed the landscape of the game, not just because of the money, but now the competitive level of Canadian players coming in and declaring D1 hockey. So he's going to be playing in a completely different kind of riff-raff of hockey, and I love that because he's that guy. Ountae Campbell talked about it at one point, being a guy or the guy. He's going to be that guy at Boston College without a Ryan Leonard next to him, without a Perreault, and we're going to be able to see the totality of his game take the next step, And then you eat, sleep, and breathe hockey when you're playing at the college level and when you kind of have that clarity and that confidence that you've already been drafted by a team. So what can he focus on going into this upcoming season? Getting stronger, putting on good, healthy size, and being that guy when it comes to the competition that college hockey is going to provide for him. I think that he's going to be that much formidable when he takes that next step, finally wearing a B sweater. But more importantly, I don't want to see him coming in trying to compete in this bottom 6 situation that the Bruins have on their hands.
That's where does he slot in? Exactly.
Right.
Because the role he would have at Boston College, top line center and their best player. So everything will rotate around him. Where if you go into with the Boston Bruins, I mean, you look at them down the middle. It's Elias Lindholm, Casey Middlestat, Frazier, Minton, and Sean Corrali. The only ones that make sense is for him to be that 3rd or 4th line center.
Right.
But then who do you have him playing with? Who do you have him growing with? Building chemistry with and learning the NHL game alongside. Where if he goes to Boston College, it's a different type of hockey. And it has to be pointed out, too. He came with a lot of hype for BC. He was very good for them. But the physical level and the jump that he made going from playing junior hockey to college hockey did affect his game. And now you give him an offseason where he can physically prepare his body to compete better at the college level. That is an older game now. You look at the teams that are the best. It's not just the 19, 20-year-old phenoms. It's also 23, 24-year-olds that are buying their time and playing as much college hockey as possible and still developing themselves. It's a grown man's game now in college hockey. He's still playing at a physical step up, but it's also the development that he gets. And where we saw his game take a hit when he took that physical step up, he needs to spend the offseason putting on weight, getting bigger, getting thicker in the right spots, like you said, and also preparing his game to compete at the college level. And that will help him also take the steps of going to the Bruins. It helps him go into development camp before the season. It helps him being in the Bruins system where he's going to be touching base with those coaches, what to work on, what to improve on, what to work on his game, and lend it to their system. And in a way, better prepare him when he hits that. I think the development's better at BC than it would be for him being at the AHL level.
Yeah, and then kind of another perspective of all of it too is like you kind of want to see him come into the Bruins when the identity has actually been more solidified. I know that we're starting to get on the right trajectory here. Things are starting to make more sense, but for the most part, you don't want to throw him into the question marks that is the upcoming season. And then the young prospects and the young talent that this Bruins team has to look forward to, a Will Zellers, a Cooper Simpson, some of these other guys that are playing in college too that hopefully will eventually be in a Beast sweater, they kind of coming in around the same time. I mean, Hagens coming in first. You're talking about a team that's going to have a jump off and know who they are, and everybody kind of coming in and being able to really fine tune and apply their skills. And kind of touching back to the bottom six tussle that we're looking at. I know a lot of fans are talking about we have so much depth at bottom six, but then what else are we? Well, yeah, you don't want to put Hagens into that because you don't want to kind of, I don't want to say dumb him down, but you don't want to change his role and his expectation coming in. I don't want to see him end up getting shipped off to Providence Bruins and playing there. I want him to learn the Bruins game when the Bruins figure out what that game is, because right now you've already got to change up in the projected lines. You know, Matt Doloff had a great article of some guys to keep out an eye for, but then you're talking about Blumel, who fans have been asking us to talk about. Big scope of play when it comes to the AHL. You're talking 72 points in 67 games, has the ability to score. But what I like about him potentially getting in the mix here is it's going to challenge a Patra. And you have fans that want to see him finally get his shot. But sticking with the third line, some are making an argument that Patra needs to push into center over Mitten. I don't particularly agree with that. Ty kind of had that take yesterday on the Hockey Hub, but you're talking about a team that wants to re-identify themselves as what? Physical, as big, as aggressive, all of these things. Mitten kind of has the capability and the size ability to be more of that physical presence that's not going to get bullied on the ice, has that defensive ability to his center game, and can score. I mean, he's had some pretty sick highlights that kind of can translate beautifully to what the Bruins need moving forward. You bring in a Blumel next to him who has the scoring touch, but in the article it emphasized he's a left shot right wing. And sorry guys, I'm going to take it back to Tampa Bay for a second. Not comparing the skill set, but Nikita Kucherov, left shot right wing. It just adds a unique touch and rhythm to everything. Very strong backhand play for one, shooting angles that are really hard to defend and keep out of the net for two, and great work along the boards also. So you're talking about somebody working alongside a Mitten who is a scorer, a net pest and presence. Tanner Janot, who said he creates space out there, and I covered him in Tampa Bay and know the ability to his game regardless of the money and contract issues. Let that third line become your formidable, annoying line. That's become the DNA of winning teams when it comes to Stanley Cup contenders. Fourth line still has some question marks. Don't bring James Hagens into that mix. Let James Hagens, be that guy that solidifies his top six positioning and role moving forward. Yeah, and that's someone that you let him step into that role. It's also a season where, what does Fabian Lysell do? Where does he slot in? Right. What does a Fraser Minton do, who's 6'2", 190? His body's more ready for the NHL game than it is for James Hagens. But what do you get from him, where that was a guy that was averaging just over 0.9 points per game, playing in junior hockey over 4 seasons, like over 200 points in just around 215 games. Like, he's on par for that. And that was a trade acquisition piece. What does Sean Corrali do on that fourth line? How do these guys that they either brought in through free agency or the younger pieces they're still developing, how do they make an impact on the game? And while you have the guys in Providence, like a Fabian Lysell, like a Matty Patra, they need to step up. What do they do with that ice time? Yeah. Do they make those impacts? And that's where you need to see what those guys can show at the NHL level now. You need to see where they can make improvements. It's been a long time waiting for Fabian Lysell to make an impact on the NHL ice, and I understand that from Bruins fans, the urgency. Yeah. James Hagens, let him develop at the college level, and then eventually you find out. You don't want to rush him. It's not on him that the Bruins need him to play now. Yes. It's on him to play on the NHL ice when he's ready. That's the best thing for him,
and that's the best thing for the Boston Bruins down the road. That's where the avenue that they have to strike. That's also why they made all these signings in free agency. They filled out, love it or not, they filled out 4 lines of hockey. And maybe James Hagens doesn't slot in yet because he's physically not ready yet.
Yeah.
I don't think he is. I think he needs another year. I really do. He thinks another year before he's playing in the NHL.
I was going to say, I didn't get a chance to ask your take on, and crazy enough, say that they do try to slot him in earlier rather than later. How do you think that maneuvers everything? Because Middlestat was on the 3rd line at one point. They're still like, what's he going to bring to the table? Is he going to be our middle of the ice guy?
Yeah, is he even going to be a center?
Right.
Between him and Pavel Zacha, there's so many question marks. I think if he comes in, if you put him on a line with a Zacha at minimum or a Middlestat on a wing, put him with a vet that has speed. The strength of James Hagens' game is his speed, especially in the neutral ice, his playmaking and his IQ. You need him in open ice with a lot of speed around him and good scoring. You can't, in a way, slow him down if you have him with the bottom 6 skaters. So it would have to be top 6 or a really good 3rd line, and really good, I mean, by speed and playmaking around him. It's all about who do you surround him with, but you have to find that avenue of vets that can help him on the ice, that have the IQ to help him learn the game on the ice, but also the speed and playmaking as well. So until I know how the rest slots out, I can't see a spot for James Hagens, and I think that's the tough part.
It's funny that you mentioned that because Ty even said it too. Like, he doesn't want to see Hagens as a driver of those bottom 6 lines because personally, I think that might just change the scope of his game a little bit. If you're relying on him for certain things and he has to, again, I don't want to insult anyone and say dumb it down, but if he has to restructure what his strengths are, I think that we're going to be putting him in a bad spot. And I think that it's going to be a completely different level of compete with him potentially getting bumped down to the Providence Bruins because of this depth situation that they're trying to deal with or sort out versus him being kind of king in the hill with Boston College and the competition that's going to be coming down the pipeline for this team. I think he's going to get his best reps at college, and I think that it's going to translate better for him. And he's got such a chip on his shoulder right now, and he wants to get up here so bad after seeing his buddies go and make their NHL debuts and have their rookie laps. You know what I mean? In those key moments, you're talking about playoffs for Leonard and Perreault also. So even Snuggerud, like guys that he's played with for USA. So he's going to do everything capable with his college team, with what he's handed at Boston College at the moment, to make sure that he is fully ready to take over when it's time to rep Boston.
And that's what matters too. And it does mean a lot. There's a reason, like Ryan Leonard could have made the jump last season. Want to come back to challenge for a national championship. They still haven't gotten to it. This is going to be a completely different BC team. And it matters to bring that up. Jacob Fowler, Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault, they're no longer there.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that they lost when it comes to their young talent and their key pieces. So now when you have a James Hagens playing, you see the impact that they can make, what a Teddy Stiga can do, and the rest of the depth of their scoring and all over the ice, the impact those guys have, it's going to be his team, and it does matter to them. It's been a long time since BC has won a national championship. They know down the road that BU has been to the Frozen Fours and been right there to break through and win it as well.
Yeah.
They know what it takes. It does matter to the college hockey game, and the intensity that those barns provide, that the game plays, and the physical tests on the ice, that does help develop him. Just because he's playing college instead of AHL, just because he's playing college and not on the Bruins bench, doesn't mean he's behind schedule.
Yeah.
Hockey's a unique sport. It's the same way with baseball when it comes to development. You take these guys, you may not see them for a few years. Again, James Hagens' timeline has to be James Hagens' timeline. It doesn't have to be constituted by what the Bruins' timeline is. As Ty Anderson pointed out, we saw when McAvoy, when he got his call, they needed him.
Yeah.
And we still could see him play his sophomore season at BC. And when that finishes up, he gets that experience. He gets those experiences with the Bruins, playing key games at the end of the season and possibly as a wild card team in the postseason as well after developing that sophomore year at BC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something else that's changing when it comes to the NHL is the development timelines. I mean, you've got young guys that are being so much more vocal about wanting to play immediately. All that drama around Isaac Howard and him now going to the Oilers, thinking that he's going to have a position on the ice kind of out the gate. So with that being the narrative and the conversation with these young guys, the push is going to be bigger, but they're going to have to be ready.
They'll have to be ready. James Hagens has to be ready. We'll see. Hey, we have a full offseason this summer to be talking about this, too. She's Kasey Hudson. I'm George Balekji, Boston Center of the Chat. We'll take a quick break here. When we get back, we'll get into what's trending around sports. Garrett Wilson getting paid by the Jets. Paul George going down with another surgery. What does that mean for the Celtics and the 76ers in their future? Plus, Cal Raleigh wins a home run derby, but distance mattered over total home run numbers. I hate it. Well, let's get into all that coming up on What's Trending. And make sure, as always, every Monday through Friday, tune into NESN 8 to 9 a.m. for Boston Center of the Chat. And tune into NESN Nation every day from 9 to 10 a.m. as well. You can also leave us a voicemail, 617-790-0965. 0928. That's 617-790-0928. Leave us a voicemail. What does James Hagens do with Boston College and the Bruins? What do the Red Sox do at the deadline? What should the Celtics do at the center position? 617-790-0928. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Boston. As end of the chat, George Balekji, Kasey Hudson with you guys. As always, we like to get into what's trending, everything you all are talking about across all the sports. Let's start with Garrett Wilson, Kasey, getting paid. One of the best wide receivers in all of football with the New York Jets. One of the few cornerstone pieces they have. 4 years, $130 million extension, $90 million guaranteed. See it on your screen. It marks the first time in NFL history that a receiver has received an average over $31 million after playing only 3 seasons. This is a guy that came in, won Rookie of the Year. This is a guy with multiple bad, awful quarterback play, has always produced. Elite route runner, really good catch radius, such a threat in the red zone. Comes out of Ohio State, so you know the pedigree that all those wide receivers have.
Yep.
Right. To get that AAV after playing only 3 seasons, I don't doubt it at all. In fact, this is a smart move. Rare time I'll say, smart move by the Jets, not waiting another year, because that $31 million a year will become $36 million a year if they waited till after next season.
Yeah.
Smart to get ahead of the market, give him this big payday, and he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, and let's go back and highlight, emphasize, bold, all the things, the only 3 years. You're talking about a guy who's made 1,100 receiving yards look easy year after year after year, regardless of the QB carousel that he's had to deal with. And to be such a pillar on a team that's had an identity crisis, the quarterback issues, the injuries, the hindrance, they haven't seen the playoffs since 2010. As you mentioned, this is like a pivotal time to lock him in, sign him. But then how about the fact that guaranteed money has finally skyrocketed for NFL players? Because this was a huge point of argument to say, hey, I deserve to be guaranteed this much regardless of what happens to my body, my mind, injury-wise. So also to see that lock-in on guarantee money for a guy that is a pillar for this Jets roster, I mean, it makes sense. It's not one of those things that you look at and ask any whys around it. Garrett Wilson deserved this.
And this is someone that puts him as the 5th highest guaranteed money, just behind Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and CeeDee Lamb. It puts them in that area code of that market, and that's where the wide receiver market is going. And this is a smart deal by the Jets. I mean, that's what you get when you have a new general manager that you get from the Denver Broncos. This smart move by the Jets when you have Aaron Glenn in the building, knowing I have to lock up these guys that are valuable.
You have to make them want to play there.
Yes, and it's you get paid. You don't have to keep earning it and putting your body on the line. He'll still have his rookie scale contract. It's an extension keyword. Then the guaranteed money is what's going to kick in. But this dude is taken care of. And again, it's smart by the Jets to lock up a young player because it would have been a holdout. It would have been talked throughout the season. And the second they enter offseason, this is something they would have had to do.
Yeah.
You trade Garrett Wilson, do you extend him? They quell all that. $90 million guaranteed, 4th highest in the NFL for total guaranteed money practically. All right, let's shift to the NBA. Some sad news. Paul George undergoes knee surgery once again. Now, this is on the same knee that he hyperextended before last season. Hyperextended multiple times. Paul George, one of the all-time best hoopers, one of the most talented basketball players we've ever seen step on a floor, let alone the NBA floor. But it goes from his knee surgeries he's had on his left knee, now surgery on his right knee. This is someone that was so athletic, so talented on both ends of the floor. And a lot of basketball players that come up now, you ask them who the best basketball player in the world is, they say Paul George because they know how much of a bucket he is and how athletic he was on the defensive end of the floor. This is someone that we'll see how effective he is come start of the NBA season. The Sixers, man, they cannot get away from the snake-bitten superstars. Joel Embiid, I don't know if he'll ever be healthy again. And Paul George, it's just the same old nightmare, it seems like, with him. Always getting injured, now leading to significant surgeries.
Well, you said the scary thing, will he ever be healthy again? Because when you first look at this, got a payday last summer actually, then entering this season, you're dealing with a groin injury, you're dealing with a finger injury, you're dealing with another knee injury, a knee injury that impacted you to the point of taking, the painkiller shots in the beginning of the spring season, and then now this surgery. So it's tough because you want to look at a player like this, and as you mentioned, as legendary as he is, as impactful as he is, you're wondering, is this a resurgence opportunity, now getting surgery, trying to get your body back to the healthiest point possible, or are we just seeing the beginning of a regression that's inevitable? Because at the end of the day, when you're going through all of these injuries, when your body starts working against you, you can only do so much to come out on the other side. And what is he, 35, 36?
He'll be 35 next season, dealing with his surgery. We saw him he only played 40 games last season, only averaged 16 points per
Numbers
game.
went down,
This is a guy that, when healthy, can play 70 games. I mean, he had it clicking when he was with the Clippers. He had it clicking when he finally seemed healthy. But it was, do you get that again? Do you get that production again? And it's just always such a a question mark with him. This happens, that just brings in more wonder around the Sixers. This is, to me, though, I just expected the 76ers to be in a retool, rebuild type of season because Embiid I don't expect to be back. And Paul George I thought would be questionable. But you see surgery happen, especially this late in the offseason. That's the part that's alerting as well, but that's because he re-aggravated it. And it's something that's lingering. I'm happy he got the surgery. But it's now Tyrese Maxey. We'll see what they do with VJ Edgecombe, who they just picked. They obviously have their first-round pick from last year out of Duke, who's a really good rookie, but he went down with a knee injury too. This is long-term where the Sixers just have to get out from under being under these contracts they have between Embiid and Paul George, and they move on from there. I don't know when they can. I don't know how soon it'll be easy. But it's just the 76ers where they paid for the superstars, they gambled, they went all in, and it just has been the exact opposite of working out at all.
Yeah, you got 2 heavy contracts and then injuries on top of it. How movable are these contracts? It just looks like right now young guys are going to get some crash courses on getting their next step in the NBA.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, and did you watch a home run derby last night?
I only saw some highlights and bits and pieces, I'm going to be very honest.
You missed Jazz Chisholm only hitting 3 home runs.
Yeah, for sure, missed that.
But Cal Raleigh, which was fun to see, the guy that has 38 home runs in the first half of the Major League season, wins a home run derby. Now, they did it by measurements, too, which I absolutely hated. Who hits the most home runs? Cal Raleigh advanced by less than 1 foot. That was his tiebreaker to beat Brent Rooker in advance, where he eventually took down Junior Camaro. But I hated that, the measurement. Let Brent Rooker and Cal Raleigh have a swing-off.
Yeah.
I don't care about distance. You want to see as many home runs as possible. Cool for the nerds. He had a longer distance. 0.1 feet is how he advanced. But Junior Caminero, who is absolutely electric for the Rays, they just have masher after masher. It came down to those 2 in the final round, which I love to see. But with Cal Raleigh, it was awesome to see him win it. It's also with his dad pitching, his brother catching. We saw the viral video of him 20 years ago saying he won the home run derby. So it's a dream come true. I like the home run derby, but there still is that point of we see the air leave the stadium. Jazz Chisholm going up, only hitting 3 home runs. It being, advancing by distance and not actual total home runs. MLB needs to fix their all-star entire weekend, the home run derby, the game, all of that. Cool to see Cal Raleigh win. I watched the first round. I watched everyone hit the first go-round, and I was like, I'm good. And you know what? I'm happy I did not have to see live a round being decided by distance.
Yeah, the distance part kind of takes air out of the tires for me, I would say. I jumped back in because, like you mentioned, Caminero, and then one of my good friends is actually the sideline reporter for the Tampa Bay Rays. So had to show some love in that aspect. But I feel like the All-Star events for all of the professional leagues are kind of they're trying to do too much, and they need to just find ways to make it exciting and simplistic again. So like just going toe to toe, like you said, you want to see a swing fest, and that's more importantly what I wanted to see too. I'm always a big fan about the storylines, though. You mentioned the family affair, but more importantly, like be able to see him like have his dream come true, and the way that his teammates and like anybody else kind of received him in that, because everyone was aware of it, was pretty sick. So that helps, but the headlines were just so dominated by this like less than a foot thing, or like inch by inch and all of this stuff, rather than the fact that it was just like bomb for bomb, toe to toe. And that part kind of was just like, all right, I can get the Cliff Notes version and sort of move on.
It was great to see O'Neal Cruz just go out and absolutely mash Junior Caminero, Brent Rooker for him to show out for the Athletics, and then Cal Raleigh to eventually win. This is still something where the fact that like Major League All-Star week, whatever you want to call it, it starts while like games are still happening. Like what's going on there? The home run derby starting late at night when it was in Atlanta. And I get it, 8 o'clock here is 5 o'clock on the West Coast. It's a home run derby. Have it start at a good time.
Yeah.
And then you have it decided by distance. You have Jazz Chisholm in there just because that's a popular name. It's a household name. You should not have someone that when they entered, I go, maybe he's going to hit 5 home runs. He only hits 3. It makes MLB look dumb.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to their game, it just doesn't have the same type of revere it used to have. Like Garrett Crochet, which I applauded him for, opted out. Julio Rodriguez opted out. We're seeing opt-outs in an all-star game in the middle of the season because they want to be ready for the second half of the season. It is so smart by these players to do that. Major League Baseball, they need to refigure it out. They need to do it quick, though, because they keep rolling out the same format. I just don't want to see home runs decided by feet. By distance, it's cool. I like, eggs of velo. It is fun to see how far they go, right?
Yeah.
That actually was like, that went 450 feet. That went almost 500 feet. Awesome.
Yeah.
You should not decide the home run derby by feet, though.
Yeah,
Give
I
them
think
bonus rounds for further home runs or bonus balls.
There you go.
But don't have it decided.
There's an incentive that can be added in there, but when it comes to like praising distance, I always kind of compare that to like the park that they're playing in. That's when it's more exciting or kind of like high up on it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they knocked it out of Fenway or anywhere else that's just like one of those harder parks to navigate. Outside of that, I think we're toe and toe. Let's just keep it to the home runs.
Still, congrats to Cal Raleigh, though. I'm like poo-pooing all over the
First
fact that
catcher
he
in
won.
some time, too.
And second ever switch hitter, too. He did it in the first round. Adley Rushman was a switch hitter in the Derby.
Sick.
Cal Raleigh did the same thing. That's the stuff that's fun. More of that, less Jazz Chisholm hitting 3 home runs. That's all I ask, MLB. We'll take another break here on Boston has entered the chat. When we're back, we'll be talking Celtics Summer League, Hugo Gonzalez, how he's been looking, Baylor Shireman, his development, and also Jordan Walsh. Why is he getting ejected? Ountae Campbell will join us, breaking it all down. You know him from Hold My Banner. He'll be joining us on Boston has entered the chat right after this break. Welcome back to Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji, Kasey Hudson. Now we got our guy Ountae Campbell joining us in the studio. You know him from Hold My Banner. We're going to get into plenty of Celtics Summer League talk now. Tay, good morning, my man. Thanks for hopping in the studio, bro.
Hey, man. Thanks. I'm just happy to be here. You guys are talking Sox, and they got me excited. So I'm excited to talk some Celtics with y'all.
We'll get into it. So we see the Summer League going down. Let's talk about the big performance we saw from Hugo Gonzalez. 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Their shooting is leaving a lot to be desired, but we knew about that. Right after he was drafted, we were on Banner. We said, look, all-around hooper, really good.
Yeah.
Technique, fundamentals, needs to work on the shot. Defense was there, too.
Yeah.
What have you seen from Hugo Gonzalez in his few Summer League games?
You know, George, I was thinking about this as I was watching that game last night, and it looked really good. People were excited in the first 2 games when the shot was falling. And then last night, it really brought out a lot of the inefficiencies in this game, and they showed and they shined just because he wasn't making shots to mask it. And I was watching games 1 and 2, and I was like, this kid is good. But he gets a little overzealous sometimes, you know what I mean, on the offensive end and on the defensive end. And both of those shine in that game last night. The 6 turnovers that he had in that game because he doesn't know how to come off of pick and rolls without just going hard. Guys understand that. Guys like Kara Lewis, who was a lottery pick in the draft years before, just jumped that hand and took it off for a steal and did that over and over again throughout the night. He has a lot of things to work on from that end, but the defense is the part where I'm a little nervous because he does a lot of things that I would harp on. I remember talking to you on Hold My Banner about how Drew would get overzealous with his defense and get out of place, how JB would do the same thing, be too aggressive in passing lanes, and it would hurt his team because they didn't have the shot blocking to help him out on the back end. Now, Hugo Gonzalez with his 2025, 2026 Celtics team, we don't know who the center is going to be.
Yeah.
We know there's probably not going to be great rim protection.
And he doesn't have the defensive background that a Drew Holiday or Jaylen Brown have, or the frame or the athleticism.
Right,
so.
exactly. Or the IQ at this point up into his career.
I think that's a big point. With
so he's going out there and he's jumping in passing lanes, and he had a, what was it, minus 18 in that game? And sometimes plus minus is kind of a fickle stat. It doesn't really matter. But it showed why he wasn't playing well last night. Plus minus isn't that big of a deal, but Hugo Gonzalez didn't have a good game defensively or offensively last night for the Celtics.
He's young. There's going to be acclimation going from EuroLeague to NBA.
Yeah.
And he's certainly showing that in the offensive and defensive.
100%. He's going to get better, and I'm not worried about it.
It's 3 Summer League games.
Right, and I like him taking swings and taking chances.
Yeah.
But he gets himself out of position too much playing hard. You can watch other guys throughout the Summer League like Carter Bryant, who also isn't the full offensive package for the Spurs just yet, but he understands how to play defense, when he gets beat, how to recover. Hugo hasn't figured out how to recover just yet.
Yeah, smart.
You kind of mentioned the fact of like exposure more so in this previous game, but if you look at it and him having better 2 starting games of Summer League and then kind of falling apart a little bit here, he took accountability. He said that his game sucked basically.
Yeah.
But you also kind of look at these young players in the translation from Euro to here, and some of these guys, when you mentioned that he's being overzealous, they tend to pop the clutch a little bit because they're trying to do too much. You're trying to make a case to say, I can be a part of this team sooner rather than later.
Yes.
How does his performance over the course of the 3 kind of change the timeline of his potential for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things when he got drafted, Brad said, hey, we know this is a project. We know this is a project, and we know that it's going to take time. And I think Jordan Walsh getting ejected, you know what I mean, after 10 minutes of play really kind of showed Hugo's flaws, you know what I mean? He didn't have other guys there to mask it. He probably wouldn't have played as much if Jordan Walsh was there. And, you know, when he's going on to a Celtics team, he's not going to play very many minutes, probably 10, 15 minutes a game. He's probably going to be asked, maybe 20 max, you know what I mean? He's going to be asked to play for this Celtics team, which is going to be perfect because he's going to be playing with JB, he's going to be playing with Derek White, he's going to be playing with Jordan Walsh. He's
going on the floor with those guys.
Baylor Shireman, Sam Hauser, you know what I mean? Niang, if he's still around.
And he's good with support technically, or at least that's what we saw in the first two.
Exactly. And when you have an opportunity to come in and just bring energy, I mean, Boston Celtics fans are going to be roaring for him when he does get that lane steal and get a dunk.
Yeah.
When he does make that corner three.
He had great outlet passes in Game 3, too.
100%. And I think a lot of this game came down to him trying to get out of who he is. Once he has to be back into a role player instead of being a guy, he's going to be great again, and Boston Celtics fans are going to fall.
He's a role player with Real Madrid.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too. So it is a ball in his hands more, and then getting asked to do more on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, he's not ready for that yet.
Talk about a guy, we go to last year's first overall pick, Baylor Shireman.
Yeah.
Defense and assists were there.
Yeah.
Shooting isn't it. I think it looks like he's like tweaked his shot a little bit. Maybe it's experiment right now in the Summer League. What do you think about a Baylor Shireman? Someone that does have to step up into a bigger role.
Yeah.
Going 4 for 13 the other night.
Yeah, it's different when you have to be a guy.
Yep.
And you have to be the guy.
Yep.
On this Summer League team, throughout this summer, he's been asked to be the guy. Jordan Walsh has been their guy, but it was supposed to be Baylor Shireman going into the Summer League, right? When he played for the Boston Celtics this year, he was the 9th, 10th guy. So when he came in and he had those games where he sprayed threes and everybody's excited, everyone's like, oh, it looked great. He's going to go into a role that, yes, is going to be increased, but it's not going to be the guy. It's just going to be a guy. He's probably going to be tasked to be the 4th, 5th scorer on this team, which is a lot to ask of a kid like him, but it's just good for his development going forward. He will be ready when Jason Tatum is back. That's all this year is for Brad, and at least for me. Make sure that guys are ready to win a championship when Jason Tatum comes back, and that's what they're doing.
It's a 2-year timeline, and I know what Joe Mazzulla pays attention to. Certainly the missed threes, but he sees the 5 steals.
Yeah.
And that's what gets you on the floor with the Celtics.
Yeah.
And then when
taking the charges, too,
Exactly. And then the 9 assists, too. That's how they play. It is spread the ball, everyone touches it in a way, so at least he's showing up there if his shooting is faltering in a way.
100%. And him and Hugo, I have to mention, went and got some great offensive rebounds last night.
The one where he skied up that putback layup for Hugo Gonzalez.
Yeah, man.
He jumps out of the gym.
Yeah.
He's above the rim.
He is. And so that's what you're looking for right now. You're looking for the guys who can make back cuts, who can make the extra pass, who can get rebounds, who can do the extra things. In those two facets, Baylor Shireman and Hugo Gonzalez did that at a high level for the Boston Celtics through 3 games, and they played defense. That's all you can ask for. Get better in those areas, and we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah.
All right. Well, something I don't think fans were on the lookout for was a sneaky ad, Charles Bassey coming into the mix for the Summer League. NBA experience, but how does this kind of maneuver things around for the Celtics?
You know, games 1 and 2, everyone talks about the double-double, and, that was big. Big time, 100%. That's what you want to see because this guy could be a starter for the Boston Celtics.
If anybody is a center on their roster, they could be the starter. But nothing against the people or Bassey, but that is it.
That's a great way
that's
to
a case
put
of this team.
And everyone's going to talk about Khalil Ware and the game that he had against the Boston Celtics last night, and he did have a good one. But when I'm looking at it, a lot of team defense things were the reasons that he got off. And then Kenny Lofton just doesn't have the size to mess around with a Khalil Ware. But when Bassey was guarding him, he made him work. He made him struggle. He made him shoot a couple of shots that he was uncomfortable with. He tried to go to the back down. You're thinking a 7-footer with a 6'9" guy in the post is going to have an advantage. And he made him work and miss a lot of shots down there. So I'm excited for that because I'm seeing defensive intensity. I'm seeing offensive rebounds. I'm seeing the ability to kick out. I'm seeing above the rim finishes. Shugla was just throwing up the ball up to the rim, not even worrying about it, and he was bringing it down with dunks. This guy, probably not a starter. I'm being realistic.
If you can serve that rim run.
But you know what I'm saying? If he can come in and play 10, 15 minutes for the Celtics next year, that's a huge add.
I mean, he was playing 10 minutes a game with the Spurs. Greg Popovich coached team in the Spurs. It wasn't a full workload over the course of a season.
Yeah.
We never saw him play more than 40 games.
Yeah.
But 10 minutes a game for Greg Popovich, that's significant.
Yeah, and then he played for the 76ers before that, being out there with Embiid. I know people aren't fans of Embiid here in Boston, but, I mean, that's a dude that's a depoy, kind of level dude when he is out there when he's playing. So for him to learn from a guy like Embiid, learn from a guy like Embiid who's not super vertical like how Charles Bassey is, he can learn a lot from that system, and he's learned a lot from, Spurs and from that 76er system as well.
When we're looking at this season, let me give you December.
Yeah.
Let's go January. Give me January.
Okay.
Hugo Gonzalez, is he a Boston Celtic or a Maine Celtic?
December? I say by December he's Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
By December he's Boston.
Think he breaks camp with the team?
That's a good question. I mean, we have to see. I mean,
It's
there's
the
a lot
two-year
of
timeline, like you allude to. Like,
Right.
why not be with Boston?
Right.
Learn the system, develop around those guys.
Right. I agree.
So it's the season,
I
too.
think for him, it's all about developing those role player tendencies.
Okay.
In the G League, we're going to see a lot of what he's doing in Summer League, taking shots off the dribble from the three-point line, being in ball handling, pick and roll situations. He's not doing any of that when it comes down to when Jason Tatum's back or next year when he's up with the team in Boston. That's never going to happen. So I think the important parts for him are to develop good habits as a role player, catch and shoot, being able to read defenders, see if guys aren't looking at you, back cut, go get offensive rebounds, improve on those skills. Don't get overzealous in the passing lanes. Stay solid, use your length, use your speed, use your physicality to get your team in better positions than focusing on what he would do in the G League.
Center position, how do you see you shaking out?
As a whole, man.
I love that we're putting all this into summer. As I go, it's just summer league.
You're right.
But,
Yeah.
but that's
It
how you
means
have to watch
everything.
this.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So I love Amari Williams. I think he's doing a great job in summer league, being that out of that facilitator role. They tried to put Bassey in a lot of those actions last night, and it just didn't look as great. You know what I mean? Which shows you how great of a player Amari Williams is and how he's developed his playmaking ability out of that 5 spot. He's able to put the ball on the floor, throw dimes, hit a little mid-range jumper every once in a while. I feel like he can develop that. He's got a nice hook game. Look, I think Luka Garza is going to end up being the starter, honestly, just because he tracks as a guy who we know what he is on offense. He's shown spurts for that Minnesota Timberwolves team where he can be a good offensive player. The defense,
Too slow.
But there's a lot of guys who are on defense right now.
You can hide them.
Yeah, and so I think offensively you're going to start out trying to give firepower. It looks like this team is going to be more offensive focused than defensive focused, which it just hasn't been the Boston Celtics identity. But it's a new era, and they got to lean into something different.
They have to lean into it and embrace it. It's whatever they pick this season, they have to pick that lane, right?
Yeah.
And it is all about that 1 year, 2 year window. Now they want to compete and win. 2 years from now, like you said, it's when Tatum's out of the boot. Brad said it himself. Biggest acquisition they can make all offseason long is when Tatum drops that boot after coming off his ruptured Achilles.
Yeah.
He's Ountae Campbell. You can catch him on Hold My Banner. You can find him on Boston's End of the Chat as well. She's Kasey Hudson. I'm George Balekji. That wraps it up for us here on Nesson. You can catch us on Nesson Nation. And you know where to catch us every Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. on Nesson, 9 to 10 a.m. on Nesson Nation. It's Boston's End of the Chat every weekday. And catch us wherever you get your podcasts as well. We'll be right back on Nesson Nation. So catch us over there for the next hour right there.